Imagine buying a dog because, well, you live in a small apartment and you think you need a small pet.
Right, like a quiet little companion.
Exactly. You picture this low-key, tiny dog just curled up on a velvet pillow, peacefully fading into the background of your busy life.
A very common fantasy.
Yeah, but then you actually bring a dachshund into your living room.
Yeah.
And within, probably about 24 hours, that entire fantasy just completely evaporates.
Oh, it is arguably the ultimate canine bait and switch.
Yeah.
Because people look at that silhouette, right?
Yeah.
They look at the short legs, and they buy them strictly for their compact size.
Which makes sense on paper.
It does, but they end up living with a creature that behaves like something 2, maybe even 3 times its actual physical weight.
Yeah.
The psychological footprint of this dog is massive.
It really is. And welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today, we are pulling from a remarkably insightful transcript. It's produced by Dachshund Health Academy, which is a vital pet production.
They do great work.
They really do. They've put together this highly comprehensive series on the breed. But the material we're focusing on today does something I absolutely love.
It gets real.
Very real. Our mission for this deep dive is to bridge a very specific gap for you. We are taking all that pristine theoretical research you do before getting a dog, and we're slamming it headfirst into the practical, everyday, messy reality of having this highly specific, highly opinionated breed walking around your house.
Because, reading a neat little bulleted list on a breed standard website is a very sanitized experience.
So true.
It's entirely another thing to experience the daily rhythm of living with an animal that fundamentally alters the way you operate in your own home.
Yeah.
And that paradox you just mentioned, the tiny dog with the towering presence, is really the lens through which we have to view everything else we unpack today.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that baseline personality, none of their specific care requirements are going to make any sense at all.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because when we talk about that big presence, we're not just talking about a dog that gets the zoomies or, likes to play fetch in the hallway.
No, not at all.
The material makes it wildly clear that dachshunds take their self-appointed role as household guardians incredibly seriously.
Very serious.
Like, you might have a dog that weighs 16 pounds, but they are spending a massive chunk of their day actively patrolling the front window.
Oh, yeah. They are on the clock.
They really are. They're announcing every single visitor, every delivery driver, and frankly, every wandering leaf with this intense, booming enthusiasm that practically rattles the glass.
What's fascinating here is the total disconnect between the human's expectation and the dog's internal reality.
How do you mean?
Well, an owner expecting a laid-back lapdog who just watches the world go by, they're going to be utterly bewildered by an animal that is this highly opinionated.
Right.
They don't just passively exist in your house, they actively manage it.
They're the supervisor.
Exactly. They want a say in who comes to the front door, what time dinner is served, what happens in the living room. It's a completely different psychological profile than a dog bred purely for sitting quietly on a lap.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We were dealing with a working breed mentality that is just, trapped in a companion dog's body.
It sounds like packing a heavy-duty guard dog software into tiny, low-rider hardware.
That is a perfect way to put it.
And watching that hardware interact with your physical environment, that's where the rubber really meets the road. So let's talk about where you actually live.
Yes, the environment is huge.
Because the space you put them in dictates so much of your daily stress level. And there's a surprising revelation here in the source about apartments versus houses.
People always assume a house is better.
Right. The automatic assumption is always that a house with a big yard is the ultimate goal for a dog. But the data suggests space actually matters a lot less than consistency.
Consistency is everything for them.
They can adapt beautifully to a small city apartment, provided you are actively meeting their physical and mental needs every single day.
Because consistency is the magic word here. An apartment forces the owner into a routine of intentional walks and active engagement.
You can't just open a door and ignore them.
Exactly. Whereas a house can sometimes breed complacency.
Which brings me directly to the yard, because I really want to push back on the whole dream backyard scenario. This was a total light bulb moment for me when I was reading the source material.
It's a wake-up call for a lot of people.
Is a yard actually a trap for new owners who think having a patch of grass can just replace a daily walk?
It is one of the absolute most common traps new owners fall into.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. A fenced yard is a tremendous convenience for the human.
Right.
Right? It makes morning bathroom breaks a breeze.
Right.
But for a dachshund, a yard is absolutely not a substitute for a walk. To them, It is a construction site.
A construction site, I love that.
It is. We have to look at their history. These dogs were selectively bred for generations to tunnel into the earth and drag angry badgers out of their dens.
Right, the badger hunting.
Yeah, so that digging instinct isn't a quirky habit. It is hardwired into their DNA. If you leave them alone in a yard for 2 hours, assuming they're getting healthy exercise, they're going to put that genetic instinct to work.
So you could literally step out onto your back patio with your morning coffee and find they've completely excavated your prized tomato garden.
Or worse,
Worse.
they can tunnel right under your wooden fence.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
A securely fenced yard doesn't actually mean a dachshund is contained.
Yeah.
They look at a solid wooden fence, they find a tiny depression in the dirt, and they decide to just make their own exit route.
That is terrifying. So what do you do?
Well, to actually secure this breed, your fencing needs to extend below ground level in any vulnerable spot.
Below ground.
Yes, you have to fortify your yard against a subterranean escape.
Which sounds more like running a maximum security prison than owning a pet.
It really does. And, that heightened environmental awareness has to extend far beyond your property line, too.
Right.
The environment you live in drastically changes the challenges you face. Like if you live in a dense urban environment, it's actually a fantastic setup for them.
Because of all the stimulation.
Exactly. The endless variety of sights, sounds, buzzes, and smells. It provides excellent passive socialization. It keeps their busy minds occupied.
Okay, but what if you're out in the country?
If you're in a rural area, you are dealing with a totally different beast. All that open space looks idyllic, but rural areas come with a profound danger of unfenced freedom.
Because of the prey drive.
Precisely. That high prey drive means if they catch an interesting scent, a rabbit, a groundhog, even just a strong scent trail from the night before, they will bolt.
Just gone.
They do not care that they're in an unfenced 100-acre field. Their instinct screams chase, and their hearing essentially turns off.
They get tunnel vision. Or, well, tunnel hearing.
Yeah, they're gone into the brush before you can even get their name out of your mouth.
It really paints a picture of a dog that requires you to be hyper aware of your surroundings at all times.
Completely.
But let's zoom in from the rural fields and the city streets, and let's go right into the living room. Because this is where the physical reality of a dachshund demands literal architectural changes to your home.
Yes, this is crucial.
We're talking about the spine.
It is the defining physical characteristic of the entire breed, and simultaneously the source of their absolute greatest vulnerability.
Yeah.
The long back, paired with those short legs, creates a biomechanical nightmare if it's not managed properly.
And the material makes an incredibly crucial distinction here that I think a lot of casual dog lovers just miss.
What's that?
Spinal protection is not a one-time precaution. It's not something you do just when they're a puppy or just when they get old. It is an ongoing daily practice for the entire life of the dog.
Every single day.
You have to permanently modify your home. You're buying specialized ramps or low-grade steps and permanently stationing them by their favorite couches, the armchair, your bed.
Yep, everywhere they want to be.
You're setting up baby gates to block off unsupervised access to the stairs because the repetitive compression of bounding down wooden stairs is terrible for those intervertebral discs.
It's devastating for them.
And it's not just the architecture of the house. Your own human habits have to change.
That's the hardest part for some people.
Right. You have to get used to constantly lifting the dog down from the furniture rather than just letting them jump off like a golden retriever would.
It fundamentally alters the way you move through your own living space.
It really does. But I want you, the listener, right now to imagine your own home for a second. Visualize your living room, your bedroom. Reading about ramps in a care manual is one thing, but realistically, doesn't this turn your house into a permanent obstacle course?
It can feel that way at first.
Does it ever stop feeling tedious? Having to step over a baby gate to get to your own kitchen, or maneuver around a carpeted ramp to sit on your own sofa.
It is a very fair question to ask, and it's a huge source of anxiety for a lot of prospective owners.
I would imagine.
But if we look at how human psychology works, alongside this environmental conditioning, adapting your habits eventually becomes entirely unconscious.
It just blends in.
Yeah, learning to lift them properly, supporting both the chest and the hindquarters simultaneously, or naturally reaching an arm out to block them from leaping off the sofa when the doorbell rings, that just becomes muscle memory.
You don't even think about it anymore.
Exactly. It is a profound shift in your environment, yes, but it's one that prevents devastating, painfully expensive physical injuries down the line.
That makes a lot of sense.
And the data reassures us here. Owners consistently report that this stops feeling like a restriction after just a few weeks. It just becomes the natural rhythm of your household.
Wow, just a few weeks.
Yeah, you stop seeing a clunky ramp, and you just see the path your dog takes to come cuddle with you.
So you're literally changing the topography of your living room. Okay, so the house is physically set up to protect the dog. Ramps are anchored down, gates are up, the subterranean fence is reinforced.
The fortress is built.
The fortress is built. Now we have to look at who else is actually walking around in that house. The social ecosystem.
This is where things get really dynamic.
Let's start with kids, because that's always the first question families have. Dachshunds can be great with children, but it comes with a massive asterisk.
A very big one.
It strictly requires household rules that apply to the humans, not the dog.
And those rules are absolutely non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Entirely because of the spinal vulnerability we just covered.
Right. There is zero tolerance for rough play. No wrestling, no tossing the dog around on the carpet.
Never.
And children have to be explicitly, patiently taught how to pick the dog up with that full support under the body every single time. It is not a dog. A toddler can just drag around by the middle or scoop up under the armpits.
Which, as you can imagine, can be a really hard boundary to enforce in a chaotic household with young kids.
Oh, for sure. But what about other dogs?
They actually do great with other dogs.
Yeah, the material says if you have a multi-dog household, they thrive there. Because of that massive confidence we talked about earlier, they hold their own remarkably well, even if their housemates are considerably larger.
Oh yeah, they don't care about size.
They sound like the Napoleon of the dog park.
Yeah.
Just confidently standing up to a Great Dane and demanding respect.
They possess towering self-image. They truly, genuinely believe they're the biggest dog in the room.
I love that.
It's hilarious. But this raises an important question, especially for the listener who might be thinking about bringing home a Dachshund as their very first dog.
Oh, right. First-time owners.
There's a wonderfully blunt reality check in the material we are looking at. It states, without hesitation, that Dachshunds are not the easiest first breed.
They don't pull any punches on that front.
Not at all. If you bring this dog home, assuming they're going to be an effortlessly easy, eager-to-please companion, like a Labrador that just lives to make you happy, it is a recipe for failure.
Why is that?
Yeah.
The stubbornness.
It's a mix. Between their highly independent temperament, that lingering badger hunting stubbornness we talked about, and the high-maintenance physical handling required for their spine, a first-timer is going to be tested.
Tested every day.
Yes. When they don't want to do something, they will simply plant their feet and look at you.
Just a total standoff.
Exactly. It is absolutely possible for a novice to succeed, but it requires highly realistic expectations and a firm commitment to positive, consistent training. You just cannot coast with this breed.
Which perfectly brings us into the reality of the daily grind. Surviving the social dynamics of the house, managing the kids and the other dogs, that's all well and good.
But then Monday morning rolls around.
Exactly. What happens when the humans have to go to work? We have to examine the 9-to-5 reality, starting with the physical chores. Let's talk grooming, because your day-to-day commitment depends entirely on which of the 3 coat types you bring home.
The variation in maintenance here is pretty wild for a single breed.
It really is. If you have a smooth-coated Dachshund, you've essentially hit the jackpot for low maintenance.
Oh, absolutely.
An occasional wipe down with a hound glove or a soft brush, and you're pretty much done. But if you have a long-haired Dachshund, you are looking at weekly, dedicated brushing sessions, like permanently added to your calendar to prevent painful matting behind the ears and under the legs.
It's a real-time commitment.
And then there's the wire-haired.
Yes. The wire-haired coat is fascinating, but it requires a very specific type of intervention.
Exactly. You have to schedule periodic hand stripping or professional grooming. And just so we're all on the same page, hand stripping isn't just a fancy word for brushing.
No, it is not.
You are literally manually plucking the dead outer hairs from the root by hand to keep that coarse, wiry texture intact.
It sounds harsh, but it's totally necessary for that coat type.
Right, because if you just clip a wire-haired coat, it ruins the texture and the color. It's a time-consuming process that most people end up paying a professional to handle.
Understandably so.
Oh, and spoiler alert for anyone who likes wearing black pants to the office. Regardless of the coat type, they all shed.
They definitely do.
There's noticeably heavier shedding in the spring as they blow out their winter coat, which is a totally normal biological transition, but it means you're going to be running the vacuum a lot more than you planned.
It's all just part of the daily routine. And establishing that routine is the absolute bedrock of successfully living with a Dachshund.
What does a good routine look like?
Well, If we look at a sustainable schedule for a working owner, it involves a brisk walk before work, some dedicated mental engagement built in, and then another structured walk in the evening once everyone is back home.
And we have to talk about that massive block of time in between.
The workday.
Yeah, when the humans are gone and the house is empty. Extended periods alone, without proper exercise beforehand, lead straight to excessive barking and real destructive separation-related distress.
They really struggle with being alone if they're bored.
Because they are incredibly social with their people and they absolutely hate being bored. One suggestion in the source is doing scent games or puzzle toys for just 5 to 10 minutes before leaving for work.
Yes, highly recommend it.
To tire the mind and satisfy those instinctive drives. But here's where it gets really interesting. I have to push back on this.
Okay, let's hear it.
If someone is working an 8-hour day, leaving at 8 a.m. and getting back at 5 p.m., is a quick 5-minute game of hide and seek with a treat really going to stop a dog from barking the house down? It sounds almost too easy, like a Band-Aid solution.
It does sound counterintuitive, doesn't it? Especially to someone who thinks dogs only get tired from running around a park.
Right, physically tired.
But you have to understand the profound psychological difference between physical exhaustion and mental exhaustion in a working breed.
Okay.
A physical walk works their muscles, it builds stamina, and gets their heart rate up. But sniffing, scent tracking, that directly works their brain.
Because their nose is so powerful.
Exactly. When a dachshund uses its nose to solve a puzzle, to sniff out a piece of kibble hidden under a cup, its olfactory bulb is processing an overwhelming amount of data.
Oh, wow.
It is fulfilling a deep, hardwired instinctual drive to hunt and forage. That kind of intense mental processing tires a dog out in a fundamentally different and often much deeper way than simply walking 2 miles on a paved sidewalk.
That's fascinating.
It leaves them feeling psychologically satisfied and ready to rest, rather than just physically tired but mentally anxious.
So you're essentially giving their brain a complex crossword puzzle right before you walk out the door. You're burning cognitive energy.
Yes, cognitive energy is key.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so we've covered the inside of the house, the daily 9 to 5, the yard, the mental health. But what happens when that carefully constructed routine inevitably breaks?
Because life happens.
Right. Let's take the show on the road. We all have to travel. We all have to run errands, go on vacation, or visit family.
And this is exactly where the unique, specialized needs of the breed really assert themselves outside of your carefully controlled home environment.
The guidelines in the source on travel safety are incredibly firm. If a dachshund is riding in a vehicle, crates or specific crash-tested harness systems are absolutely mandatory.
Non-negotiable.
You cannot just have them loose in the back seat or sitting on the passenger's lap. Why? Because you have to prevent them from suddenly jumping on or off the seats.
Yep, the spine again.
And more importantly, you have to protect that fragile spine from sudden, jarring movements if you have to slam on the brakes. You are transporting highly fragile cargo.
It adds an extra layer of logistics to something as simple as a trip to the drive-thru. You can't just toss them in the car.
And if you're traveling without them, boarding is a whole other puzzle. You can't just hire anyone off a neighborhood app.
No, you really can't.
Your pet sitter has to genuinely understand 2 very specific, very critical things. First, the dog's emotional needs, managing that separation sensitivity we talked about so they don't panic.
Yeah.
And second, the strict physical handling rules for their spine. So if you're planning a romantic weekend getaway, you definitely can't just leave this dog with the neighbor's teenager who happens to have a free weekend, can you?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights the core theme of this entire deep dive: intention.
Intention.
You cannot be passive with a dachshund. A neighbor's teenager might be fantastic at throwing a tennis ball in the yard, but will they remember in a split second not to let the dog jump off the guest bed?
Probably not.
Will they know exactly how to properly support the dog's back when picking it up to put it in the car? Will they understand how to de-escalate the dog's anxiety when the owner doesn't come home at 5 p.m.?
It's a lot to ask of a casual sitter.
The physical and emotional stakes are simply too high. It requires a sitter who is fully actively engaged with the physiological realities of the dog.
Which really brings us to the ultimate balance here. The final verdict on bringing one of these dogs into your life. When you weigh the rewards versus the responsibilities, it is a remarkably heavy scale on both sides.
It really is.
The reward is phenomenal. I mean, you get a deeply loyal, incredibly engaging, expressive companion. There's genuinely never a dull moment. They will make you laugh every single day.
They're total clowns in the best way.
But the responsibilities, they are relentless, relentless. Spinal protection, depending
Like
on the
what?
coat, intense grooming, consistent patient training to overcome their stubbornness, and mandatory physical and mental exercise every single day of their life.
It is a true partnership. You get out exactly what you are willing to put in. You cannot phone it in.
And I should quickly mention, for anyone feeling slightly overwhelmed by the logistics of all this, the material notes that the Vital Pet app is actually designed to help organize exactly this kind of intense daily care.
It's a great resource.
It tracks the veterinary appointments, the grooming schedules, the medical records, and helps support that crucial ongoing relationship with your vet, which, given everything we've just discussed about their specialized physical needs and their spine, seems pretty invaluable to have in your pocket.
Organization is your best friend when managing a breed with specialized daily requirements. Having a system in place allows you to actually enjoy the personality of the dog rather than constantly stressing about their schedule or their diet or their health history.
So what does this all mean? If we boil this entire deep dive down to a single overarching takeaway, I think it's this. Owning a dachshund is a deeply, profoundly rewarding relationship, but it is not a passive one.
Not at all.
It requires your active daily participation in both their physical environment and their mental well-being. You're signing up to be a guardian, a puzzle master, a trainer, and an architectural planner all rolled into one.
It really is a fascinating dynamic to reflect on. Think about the carpeted ramps permanently stationed by your sofa. Think about the baby gates modifying the flow of your hallways.
Right.
The specialized travel harnesses meticulously buckled into your car, and the expensive fences buried deep into the ground of your yard. When you bring a dachshund into your life, you are quite literally altering the architecture of your human environment to accommodate their biology. It makes you wonder, when we domesticate a breed with such highly specialized needs, who is really adapting to whom?
That is such a brilliant way to look at it. You think you're bringing them into your world, but really you just end up living in theirs, playing by their rules. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep observing, keep exploring, and keep asking questions about the amazing creatures we share our homes with.